What is up, my fellow Chibits? Today I'm here to bring all of you the weekly anime review of Charlotte. Now, we have one episode left until this series concludes, so next week is the finale. And before I even begin to talk about some of the events that happened at the end of this episode, let's just talk about overall the first half. So, as we know, after the aftermath of last week's episode, Pooh died, now was stripped, and just huge issues happened with her to where she got saved because of Pooh. And then also, you had it to where Yu lost his eye, he had to end up in the hospital, and we saw many things of the aftermath after what happened. And also, Yu's brother is in like a state of shock to where he can't accept his best friend's death. And I mean, if you were to time leap multiple times in the past, hundreds of times most likely, and try to save your friends over and over again, and then you grew this bond with your friend, and then you thought you finally had this timeline where you could be happy with them, and then all of a sudden they just die like that, I guess you would be kind of distraught if that did happen to you. So I can understand, like, I've never been in that situation, so I don't know how it feels, but I could say that you would definitely be emotionally depressed if something like that happened to you. So Yu's brother acting like that does make a lot of sense, and Yu, in a certain way, he has experienced similar things like that. Not exactly, but he has experienced certain things, like, you know, when his little sister died, and he, you know, was by himself, and he was just, you know, roaming by himself all depressed, and then he started running around doing things that almost turned to drugs. He was in a similar state, but thankfully Yu's brother didn't go that far because Yu stopped him in time before he crossed over that line, and we have a new goal in sight. But before we get into the new goal in sight, talking about more stuff at the first half of the episode, Misa, her entire plot thread, like, that's been ongoing since the beginning of the series, was kind of concluded with this episode. For instance, you know, we had it to where the dead sister disappears, goes on to the afterlife, and Yu takes the ability. And so, in a sense, I mean, that entire scene, it was really, I could see very mixed thoughts about that scene, actually, in a certain sense, because that plot thread kind of gotten cleared up a while back. I think episode 3 or 4 it got cleared up, but in a way, this gave it more conclusion, like, afterthoughts to that thread. And the music, the way it was done in that certain scene, the way the voice acting was also done, I have to say, well done, Charlotte, for doing good voice acting on the scene. Definitely a very good moment of the series. And also the entire bit with the glasses. Okay, so I don't even remember his name, because just, like, the comedy from him is... Okay, so comedy is subjective, depending on if you like comedy. I shouldn't have to say this, just everybody has different taste in fucking comedy, okay? I am not a fan of the glass guy's comedy. Like, it feels very flat to me. It really does. And of course, everybody has different tastes. You might find the comedy to your liking, but to me, the comedy is just like meh. It's just meh. And especially after the vibes and the themes at the beginning of this episode was seeing what happened to Yu, and then Pooh's death, and then now losing his eye, and then all of a sudden you have this scene to where, you know, he's just joking, telling his jokes, just like, okay, I mean, I understand they haven't seen each other in a while, and then they were, you know, trying to kind of showcase that they're good friends, but I just don't really like that comedy with the glasses guy, but that's just my personal preference. That's not really much I could say about that. So, past that, we have the confession with Now and Yu. Now, Yu confesses to her, and in a sense, the way it was done, I felt like it was realistic. It suits Now's character the way she reacted. The way she reacted to Yu just confessing to her, it was realistic and it was in character for Now. The way she's like, huh? You know, the way her entire speech was, the way she was talking, it was just something that her character would do. So there's not really much issues I actually have with that romantic scene. And I mean, if you were in a situation as Yu, if you were to, you know, be down in the dumps and you lost your sister, someone you love, and then you almost turned to drugs and you were kind of a thug, and all this shit happened to you, and then someone came and saved your ass, and that was Now, you might fall in love, because love can happen like that, and sometimes you can't choose the people who you love. And so you falling in love is realistic. So now that I've said my thoughts on the romance, and now that the couple's kind of, you know, confirmed now, let's move on to the final half of the episode. So, we have a goal. We have a goal that was just introduced in this episode, and I have had my thoughts and theories about this. I've actually thought about it a couple times, but I haven't really talked about it much, because I didn't believe the series would take this route because it just doesn't feel like there's a lot of time left for the series to go on this type of grand adventure goal to collect all the abilities from everyone. Because, let's face it, there is hundreds of millions and billions of people on this planet. There's a lot of people on the planet. Now, we don't know exactly how many people are on this world since it's an anime, but we can assume it's quite a fucking bit. And you being the only single person that is going to be collecting all these abilities, it just does not seem possible for him to accomplish this goal in a day, in a week. It would take many years for someone to probably accomplish something like this. And by the time many years have passed, he might have collected, let's say, a quarter or even a half. I don't even think he would collect a quarter. You would have to think that his ability might be gone. So I don't know how this is really going to be handled. The only way I could see something like this being handled to where you can collect everybody's ability is if he's able to kind of be in different places at once. For instance, he's kind of like God. Like, he can be everywhere at once. Like, he can split himself up, and he can be towards everybody. He can watch you at all times, kind of. Yeah, that's the best way to sum it up. He can watch you at all times and be there at all times, everyone around the world, and he's kind of like a God. I could see that being somewhat of a possibility if he does gain an ability like that, but even then, I wouldn't know how to feel about that if it did happen. But then we lead over into another thing I need to talk about. It comes once again back to Nao's brother. I've said this for the past couple episodes, and I will say it again. Nao's brother is still in the damn hospital, and he is mentally fucking insane. But it still has not been fixed. It hasn't even been addressed at all. Not even you has addressed this at all. And I don't know how to feel about this because, as I said, the singer that was blind and she healed him, I have a theory about that. You remember how I said that most likely she had the ability to time travel? Remember how I said that? I saw a couple of Chibits last week actually say this in the comments, and I was like, oh my god, it makes so much more sense now that I think about it like that. The singer doesn't have the ability for time travel, but the ability to heal people. Because let's think about this. Because of the information we've gotten with people going blind with their eyes and stuff, I don't know what it has to do with relating to her as a character but going blind, but maybe her power is to heal people. And maybe she gives up some of her life force or something to be able to heal someone. For instance, healing Nao's brother out of sanity. You get my point. So maybe since Yu's going to be going around stealing abilities and, you know, collecting them all into one body, he's eventually going to meet that singer, and I could see him gaining the ability to heal where he might be able to heal his eye. And then this also leads into something else too. We do know that he has the power now to kind of channel souls inside of him. What we know for a fact, Yu has this ability now because he got it in this episode. What if, just hear me out, what if he's able to channel Pooh back from the grave? For instance, Pooh died last episode, and Yu gets an ability to where he can channel the dead back. What if he is able to channel Pooh back to where he can find other ability users? I could see something like that happening as well. You know, him getting Yu back to where he's able to find out where all the ability users are. Even if he had Pooh helping him, it doesn't still make sense how he would be able to collect everybody in the entire world. So yeah. So tell me your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or not wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.